Hi, my name's Michael Ralla. I'm a visual effects supervisor currently working for Warner Brothers. My last project was Ryan Coogler's newest and latest film, Sinners. And before that, I have worked on a whole bunch of other movies. Probably one of the biggest ones was Wakanda Forever, also with Ryan. But I've helped my wife, who's also a visual effects supervisor, finish John Wick 4. Um, uh, I worked a little bit or helped a little bit with the virtual production on Mel Gibson's Flight Risk. And I think that's a pretty good summary. There's a more than 50 titles on IMDb that I was working on as a digital artist and as a compositing artist. But I think this sums it up pretty well. On paper, I'm actually what is called a diplom engineer, FH, which is a German engineering degree. Having said that, it's not exactly what I do. I initially wanted to become a sound engineer in the early 2000s. But, you know, and I was playing in a lot of bands, playing metal drums. But then I had some issues with my ears, and right around the same time, there was a viral short movie that came out called 405.
LAX, this is AM 117 Heavy requesting emergency approach. AM 117, come about to 175 and proceed to 3,000 feet. Roger that, LAX. We're not going to be able to make that approach. We're having trouble maintaining altitude.
The film, or that short, is about an airliner landing on the 405, which is a big highway that's kind of the main artery in Los Angeles, going straight through the city, connecting the South Bay with the valley. I think that was probably 2000 or something like that. Two guys in their basement made an airliner that landed on the highway. And I thought that was so impressive, especially the fact that they were able to do that just by themselves with off-the-shelf hardware, computers from Target, that, you know, that's when I decided that's what I want to do.
Hey there. We heard tale of a party.
You did?
You wouldn't mind us coming in now, would you? We hungry as dogs.
Woof, woof.
You fellers must be the owners of this establishment.
That's right. And you are?
We just came here to play. Here, I'll show you. I pick more, I've been clean.
One day, I just received a message out of the blue, and it was Ryan asking, "Hey, bro, I'm doing this new film. Would you be interested in working on that? Can you get on a call with my producers?" And that was essentially, that's the whole story, you know. I stayed in touch with Autumn, the cinematographer on Wakanda Forever, throughout the entire time. We've been going back and forth, and I knew that he was gonna do a new film. I just didn't know what it was and when it was gonna start. But you know, it's the relationships that really matter.
We gonna kill every last one of you.
First and foremost, and probably the biggest and most obvious VFX challenge, is the fact that Michael B. Jordan plays identical twins. So he's in the film twice. Did he get paid twice as much? I don't know. We'll leave that up for speculation. We never talked about it, and it's probably irrelevant. But, you know, we had a lot of challenges where the twins, with shots where the twins were interacting with each other. It was necessary to make them appear in the same frame on screen believably, and on the biggest screens in the world. That was probably the biggest challenge. Having said that, there are 800 other shots on top of that Each and every single one, some sort of a challenge, you know, some bigger, some smaller. But, you know, I would say the biggest shot group that was absolutely critical to nail 100% was definitely making Michael B. Jordan appear twice on screen. So visual effects, IMAX, and Ultra Panavision. It's actually, technically it's not Ultra Panavision, it's called System 65. And System 65 was first used on, I believe it was Lawrence of Arabia. You know, it was during a time when it was really difficult to get people into theaters because television had just come out. So everybody was buying TVs and watching movies from the comfort of their home. Not too different from today's situation where, you know, it's post-pandemic. A lot of people have built home theaters. They're streaming with an abundance of good options to watch, very high quality streamers, very high quality episodic content. But it was absolutely imperative for Ryan to get people back into the theaters, to have that shared experience of watching a movie together, to like laugh and cry and feel at the same time. And to him, you know, it is really only celluloid film that captures that heart and soul.
Somebody take me.
You strumming that guitar tonight?
Good morning, Miss Beatrice.
You gonna tell me what you playing on? I gonna have to hear it through the grapevine.
You have a good one, Beatrice. I see you at service tomorrow morning.
Guess the grapevine it is.
And that was kind of a hard thing for me to accept at first because, again, I'm a German engineer. You know, we like to go by the numbers. We like to like quantify, you know, scientifically and all that. And I was like, well, you know, from an engineering perspective, we're at a point where digital is undoubtedly better, technically. Having said that and having gone through this project, I've changed my opinion. Yes, digital is better, has higher dynamic range, has higher spatial resolution. And, you know, like, I disagree a little bit with Mr. Nolan on some of those points that he makes. The one thing that I agree with is that celluloid film does capture something that's outside of the frame. It's some sort of a feel, you know, it's something that happens while we're shooting, when the camera's rolling audibly for the whole team. And, you know, once you see it projected, that feeling all of a sudden comes back. And I remember watching the first print together with Ryan at IMAX headquarters in Playa Vista. And we finished watching, and Ryan, the first thing that Ryan said was like, this is crazy. It felt like somebody else made this film a long time ago. And that's exactly what he was going for, because it's a 1930s period. No, I don't want to call it period. 1930s, you know, gangster. Well, we call it a Southern gangster vampire blues Western. And you know, once you have the flicker and the bulb with all the fall off towards the edges and the scratches and the grain and all that, that feeling comes back. So what did that mean for us in VFX? Well, actually made things harder, because all of a sudden you're falling back into a pipeline from 25 years ago. And, you know, everyone's so used to shooting digital that all the VFX workflows and pipelines have been built around digital footage. Whereas here, all of a sudden, you get very different file formats, very different resolutions. We had to train some of our compositors because they had never worked on film or with film footage before. And it was absolutely necessary to make sure that anything that we add digitally, anything that's CGI, has absolutely the same qualities and the same look so that it doesn't stand out. film footage was scanned at 8K resolution, regardless if it was IMAX or System 65, which is a big difference because one is horizontal with 15 perforation holes. The other one is vertical with 5 perforation holes. So IMAX 65mm film is 3 times bigger than System 65, and in itself, System 65 is 3 times bigger than Super 35. But you know, at that resolution, in my opinion, and from what I have seen on this show, that captures every detail abundantly.
I've been all over this world. I seen men die in ways I ain't even know was possible.
Do we lose quality if we print back to film? That's a very, very good question. Like I could tell you're an engineer because that is clearly an engineering question. Again, this is my personal opinion from what I have observed while I'm working on Sinners. Yes, you do. The image it loses a little bit of clarity, it gets a little softer. The colors change a little bit. Now, here's what's interesting. Does that matter? No, because it actually makes everything look a little bit better. In particular, the visual effects work. All of a sudden, it blends everything a little bit better together. You know, emotions thing, the edges. It's to me, this whole process is about feeling. You know, and if you're doing it for technical purposes, I don't necessarily agree with that. But you know, again, that's my personal opinion. I think it's really interesting. Yes, you do in terms of technical quality. No, you don't lose quality. I think you may actually gain something that, again, is very hard to quantify, but it's not a technical specs thing.
With all the things that I've seen, I ain't ever seen no demons, no ghosts, no magic.
With AI around everywhere, do we still need actors? So that's probably the best question of the day. So let me tell you about an interesting observation. At the very beginning of the project, we were showing Ryan a lot of concept art, and he was adamant that it would be concepts made by humans. You know, he literally told us, "Hey, I don't want to look at images with people that have 7 fingers in, you know, and one eye or like a weird nose or something like that." He was really adamant that he wanted a human, like, putting their creativity at work and giving like whatever they're producing, heart and soul. And watching especially Michael P. Jordan and the rest of the fabulous cast perform in front of the camera, there's no doubt, in my opinion, that AI isn't gonna replace humans in front of the camera. Because what happens is you put them together and they're starting to act, they're starting to get in the groove, and you get something that is by far larger and bigger than just the sum of their bodies in front of the screen. Will we ever be able to capture that with AI? I don't know. I doubt it, to be honest, because again, it's about the heart and soul. And that's what I think people feel when they watch this film. You know, it's, again, you can't technically quantify it. Sure, you can have AI create extremely cool like destruction scenes, and I've seen, you know, some recent examples where training material from like blockbusters was used, and you know, fighting robots and all that. Sure, that, like, no doubt, and it is cool, but in my opinion, it will always miss the one thing that you get when you have a human put their creativity at work.
You twins? Nah, we cousins.
Can I enjoy watching movies with visual effects without dissecting them? It depends. It really depends. I mean, so interesting fun fact, my wife is a VFX supervisor as well. So, you know, going to the movies with 2 kids, it becomes somewhat of a rarity. I mean, so we really will pretty picky and pretty selective about in terms of just what we watch. Having said that, I remember having fantastic moments, just full of joy watching films like Top Gun Maverick, films like Ford versus Ferrari, where I did not care about the visual effects work. I was like, I'm gonna leave my brain, you know, at the reception of the theater. Let's just watch this and enjoy it. And it was fantastic. It was really, really good. You know, if there are certain films where I do end up looking at the VFX and actually, you know, where I end up dissecting them. Usually that's films, but the story isn't very good. Because, you know, to me, if the story is good, your tolerance for like VFX work goes up a little bit, and you know, like even some work that may not be perfect is passable. But if the story sucks and the visual effects suck, then that really, like, you know, at that point you're kind of not having fun anymore. At that point you start to go like, oh god, okay, edges here, the tracking's not matching, lighting's terrible. You know, it really depends, but I try to not do that because it's not exactly fun. And you know, I'm in a situation where I'm sitting in a theater that I paid for to go and watch something on a big screen. So I don't want to do what I do for a living when people pay me to sit in the theater and look at images that they want me to give feedback on.